All right, I guess this will be under Fabric Tip Friday. It's kind of been long overdue talking about, but I want to talk about our new paint system that we've introduced actually at the first of this last year, first of 24. We, a little bit of history, AirTech in 1980 used a product from PPG, and it was a 1-to-1-to-1 mix, and was popular up to about 93, 94, and then the EPA discontinued parts of it. So the owner, before I bought AirTech in 1995, went with a new system completely, and that system had been online up till this last year. There was not a problem with the system. If everything was still good as far as product, I would still be using the one we had. It had certain binders that made the urethane a flexible urethane. We was able to paint across over to metal or everything with the same paint. But the company that was mixing the pigments and stuff for us got bought out by a large company, which caused them to not do as much business or want them to do as much business with smaller companies. And I fell in that line. And everybody just knew, including me, before I bought AirTech, well, it's just an off-the-shelf urethane that they're using. Well, when I bought AirTech, it's not. They actually was making stuff for us and one other company, a specialized company. And what really hurt us on that is when I would run out of like a red pigment, I couldn't just call and say, hey, send me 10 gallons. They would go, well, we need to make this in 50-gallon batches or whatever. Sometimes I would be 8-9 weeks getting a pigment in, so I'd have to really think ahead. And it got to the point that it wasn't EPA, but when COVID hit, everything kind of went sideways, and it was having problems getting certain parts of that mixture to where I said, well, since 1995 to now, it's time to move on. And I looked at the newer products. There's not a lot of new stuff under the sun, but from 1995, there was some new things that has come online around 2000, 2004. So I said, I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade our paint system to a better product. I started about a year and a half ago. I worked with a chemist talking about what my needs were and what happens. And and a lot of products from different companies, Sherwin-Williams, Exalta, your different companies has urethanes that works on fabric and they're flexible, but I wanted to have a guarantee that I had what I wanted. So I started doing tests and had a guy that I had hired, a chemist, of what to do and look for and different things. So this has been ongoing for about 2 years, and a lot of testing and a lot of looking at different things. And we came up with a couple that was top of the line, even more metallics and more types of pearls. But it was a situation that for me to even break even, I was going to have to charge $600 and $700 a gallon. And the normal rate on some of this stuff for yellows and reds was $800 and $900. And I'm not saying it wasn't acceptable, but it was just going to be really hard in a situation where you're used to use 3.5 to 4 gallons. In the new system, you'd use 3 gallons to cover, say, a J3. Use a little bit less product. This new product, you use a little bit less. That offsets the cost a little bit. So I didn't want to find a cheap line of paint, but I wanted to find something that was very on the commercial side. And what we've come up with, our old system was a 3-to-1, 3 parts paint, 1 part catalyst, and then you reduced it. What I went back to a large company, and I looked at Exalta, I looked at Sherwin-Williams, I looked at PPG and different ones, and I have to start with the pigments first, because that's your base of your color. Then your binder that's going to be used, is it a binder that's going to give a hard shell, superior chemical resistant, like an Emron or something that can flex, or something in between? And we found one. All of them are pretty flexible, but we found one that we did a lot of tests on, put the stuff out in the sun in the summer for 2 or 3 months. When you take a piece of fabric that's been painted, all urethanes are wanting to shrink. You've ever cut out a piece out of something and let it set? If it's been just painted within a month or two, it'll want to curl up this way, which is it shrinking. You know, you cut something out, the wing's flexing about like this, but you'll want to do this and crease it, and that's really an overkill, but that's what we were looking at. And we found one that was within the cost range what we could do. And the old paint system was 3-to-1, but the new paint system is a 6-to-1-to-1, then you thin it. So I called it Part A, Part B, and Part C. And if you think about it, if it's 6-to-1-to-1, if you split that in half and compare these up, that's still 3-to-1. But these are paired together. And I call this a cross-link agent. It's sort of an accelerator, but the old guys that's used AirTech, I had something called an accelerator that was optional. This is not optional. This has to be in it. A lot of this product is reducer, so there is a few colors in here that you almost don't have to put a reducer with. And in some colors like white or yellow, some of the heavy yellows, you may have to reduce it up to 10 to 15%. I'll talk about that in a minute, but the 6-to-1-to-1, this is needed in this process. When I first tested it, it was a great paint for painting a hood of a car, or a fender, or a whole car. But the problem I had is people have a wing that's in a rotator that they're doing a bottom and the top of a wing, which is a lot of area, that I was having trouble getting all the way around it with the normal mix of a urethane that I was picking. So I had to come up with a different offset in this that reduced the tens or the different parts of the accelerator to slow things down. And I think I've matched it up pretty well. The only problem is now we have this is very warm weather. You'll have a warm, you'll have a standard. We are, like our reducers, warm and cool reducer, we're having to have a temperature sensitive third part. So if you buy all your product in July and you tell me that you're going to paint it all in August, and then you call me in December and just getting to round to painting, you're in a mess. So I tell everybody, let's don't order paint till we're ready to paint. That's the only problem. The next part is the reducer. I have all the instructions with it, front and back. You reduce it to a Zahn cup number, but I've had videos talking about that. But also whatever gun you're using. I can't cover every gun out there. None of these urethanes do good with these Morks or these different low volume with like a big vacuum cleaner hose type. It need a regular professional paint gun. Turn the pressure up to atomize things. So I can't really have a cut and dry cookie cutter mix. Your third part is, or your fourth part being your reducer, has to be to get it to do what you want it to do. I used to, and still the novice can get a great shine with our product. A lot of the professionals like this better. They say they're getting good coverage. I had one guy that was doing some Super Cubs that's doing it in a single coat. That's kind of pushing it. My blue and white clip wing, I did that in a single coat. It covers real well. Even the reds and yellows cover real well. Now there's a few reds that have a different pigment makeup that are a little bit more opaque, so you can have a stacking effect. If you put 3 coats here, you put 2 coats here, they could look different going over a white or something. So it goes back to, I hate to kind of point this out, but basically when you get into the instructions, it's for professional use. I mean, you need to know how to paint and mix stuff. So your reducer, you're just going to need to know how to get stuff to where you can flow it. You're going to have to match the Part C to your temperature to get that right. Once you get that overdone, you know, our mixed cups have the 6-to-1-to-1. We've had some painters call back and say they mixed it 6-to-1-to-1 and up to about 12 or 15% reducer, and it did great. Everybody has been perfectly happy with it. We had 1 or 2 issues of people painting above 90 degrees. This product will solvent pop a little worse than our old AirTech would. But talking with the rep from the kit, from all these parts, and my chemist, you don't put this, you put this on wet, but don't put thick, heavy coats. People have a tendency of not wanting to run They want to lay something flat. Now they have a tendency to flood it. When you flood it, I think I've got a video on solvent pop. That's an ideal situation of causing a solvent pop, which is the cross-linking agents. When the urethane and everything, or the hardener, attaches itself and starts, that is coming out. And you want a warm enough reducer that will stay open long enough, and you want a thin enough coat. So I recommend putting a light coat on. Go ahead and wash your gun, drink a Coke if it's cool or whatever, and just, let it get completely, where you can glide your hand over it and put your next coat on. That's the only part. We did come out with a new reducer. We had a 4070 and a 4085. We've got a new reducer that's 4095 for the really hot. I just suggest when it's 90 or above, you really don't need to be painting. The other downfall is I don't think this one is going to do as well as our other one, as in I could paint the old AirTech in 30-degree weather. This one is not going to do like that very well. I used to not like Ranthane for that situation, that it didn't like the cold. Well, lo and behold, mine now is in that situation. So if it starts getting down in the 40s, something like that, you need to heat the air up a little bit to make this system work right. Like I said, that's the only issue that we have is a really, really warm and having this matched up. The numbers, we've got a lot of our colors. We had over 900 colors, and a lot of those I've never seen. They just were in the system, but our main colors, the Bahama Blues, the Tennessee Reds, all of those we've matched over into the new system. It's a really close match. The only thing is where the old system had a 000611 black, now it is 100611 black. So I just changed and put a 1 in front of it. And the other plus is because I am using a pigment base from PPG, that allows me to reach into their computer system. If someone gives me a code of something that they like, I can actually come up with a formula instead of having to go the old school of colorizing it and coming up with something. So we're trying to work through this. The previous owner, Mr. Mack, I told him what I was doing, and he kind of laughed. He said, well, everyone that owns AirTech needs to have to change their paint one time in their whole career. So this is my time of, I hope this one, I wanted one with longevity. It's going to be around for a long time. So I put this system together. Everything's worked real well with it. We just have to read the instructions. So like I said before, it's not a cookie cutter. Oh, we set our gun to number 2 and the temperature is 71 degrees. Everything is different at different places. So different temperatures, different humidity levels and stuff. You kind of have to have a background of paint, you might say. But with that said, I believe a person gets a handle of running the gun and mixes the stuff right. I've not had anybody have any bad situations with it. Some of the guys say they can paint vertical with this a little better than my other system. It wouldn't orange peel, but when you paint it vertical, you better have it just right to get that perfect mirror finish. You have another system out there that everybody goes, well, it's shiny, and I'm the type of guy that, yeah, I can see myself walking by the airplane, but I want to get 2 foot away and hold this up and read these letters. That's a difference in the shiny. You better have it mixed just right to get that. And the guys say that this painting vertical does it try to hang a little bit, and they've had really good luck with that. So that's kind of covering most of the stuff on the new system. If you have any questions about it, give me a call. But we have been selling this since the first of the year. The old system is everything but gone. We've got maybe just a couple little colors and binder that I can do in the old system. The only challenging part is when someone comes up and says, I've damaged an aileron and I got to repair the aileron and it has to match the rest of the wing. Well, they need to send me something, even if it's my system. I have the old color, but I need to look at their wings, see how many coats they put on, do a color eye, just try to do a fresh match. And that way, the new system, we can match it up. But that's just kind of giving you a little bit of a open view of what's going on in AirTech with the new paint system. Thanks.